We're live.
Hello and welcome to Creativity in Progress. As always, I am your host, joined by my host, or co-host, Nathan Beatty Jr.
Hi.
And Ari Orna.
Hi.
Perfect. Excellent this one. Sorry about that, as we're having some technical issues for some reason. Our beautifully crafted intro video is not playing. But we'll give you, we'll fill you in on all the glorious details as what the show is as we go along. But real quick, just a quick check-in. How are you guys doing this week?
Good-ish.
Yeah, fine.
With all the synchronicity of a drunken mule drowning in molasses. Boy.
Yeah,
It's going to be a good day. All right. Well, if this is your first time to the show, I'm sorry.
That's the way it is every week.
Yes, this is actually a good week.
Yes, this is.
But what we're doing is, this show is basically just for the three of us, or more or less your parents, telling you a bedtime story. And we're making the bedtime story as we go along. We roll for the type of genre that the story will be in, the setting, and the archetypes for the characters that'll be in said story. And Nate is our trusty die roller. Ari is our trusty artist who will illustrate the things we're talking about. And I am the trusty loudmouth who will talk probably the most because I am the biggest talker. And I will also kind of keep notes on everything that we're talking about so we have a more coherent story in the end that we can kind of share with you guys once it's all one big piece. So, are we ready to get into tonight's story?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Jump into it.
Right on.
Yeah. All right, so let's pop over. We are now enrolling for genre. So let's see. Okay, so that how many dice DCs is that?
We'll just do 10 for the genre.
All right, so let's get rid of you. Oh wait, no. Oh, nope. Sorry, forgot how this thing worked for a second. Okay, now I'm gonna roll. I'm rolling. It's 6.
Okay, so 6 is Western. Nice.
Ooh.
Okay, that's something new.
Nice.
It is something new, and obviously you can be imaginative with that, but 6 for Western.
Yes. All right, so let
now
me
lock
get
that into place while you
lock yours into place. Okay. So we are at Western. That's okay. So now we're going to move to setting. And
we got 10 for that as well.
Oh, 10 for that as well. Okay, so we'll just roll the same damn die.
Yep.
7.
All right, right on. And 7 is it's a new add-in. It's Spooky Location. It's based off of Ari's favorite.
Ooh.
Spooky Western.
Ooh.
Oh baby. Now we're cooking with
We're cooking with fire.
Yes. And then, so this is the trickiest one, Nate. This one is I guess we can quickly do the time period as either past, present, or future, which is just 3.
Yeah, I'll roll it, and then if we get a 4, I'll just roll it again. 1.
Perfect.
That kind of fits.
It's a past, so it's
naturally
straight on. Okay. And then the last one, typically we already had said do 300. We can probably just do, because we keep hitting the 160 area. If you want to kind of cut it down, like I guess say just 100 or something, we're forced to do different set of.
Yeah, but that's cutting out like 200 other options.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna try just 200 then.
You just try. Well, yeah, I guess we could. Yeah, whatever. Don't listen to me. I don't know what to talk about.
Well, the thing is, I realized the other day was that part of the reason why it's staying just in the middle is that's just the statistical, probability of it all.
It is.
So let me just go ahead and do. Let's just do a whole ass load.
Nice.
1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
One full ass load.
Oh, I did too many. I think I did too many. Did I do too many? I don't know. We're just going to roll this and see what we get.
Okay, that's fine.
168. That's a little higher than we were doing. So.
Which is right around the same. I love it. I love the consistency. All right, so 168 is Nomad. Nice. Wow. That kind of.
Wow.
This is kind of writing itself. But
here we go.
We're like the dice are essentially just going tropes. Like
It's like here's your
Cliche.
softball. We're gonna lob it up there to you guys. You're all so
Exactly.
tired.
Well, hey, after last week, which was a political drama in the present,
Oof.
you know.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Watch us roll a ghost for the next character.
Oh God.
Please.
Okay, so rolling again.
Yeah, that first name.
You're kidding me.
Okay, so in that
these are weighted dice. 169.
it just says nonconformist, which is perfect for a Western also. You have a nomad and a nonconformist, although they're not necessarily synonyms, but they typically those two might ally with each other. But
yeah.
And also, which is fun, is that the archetypes they don't have to be protagonist and antagonist. It can be whatever you want to.
Well, you know what's popping into my head right now is throw a coin to your Witcher. You got the Witcher, the nomad, and you've got the buttface bard running around behind him. So,
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure Yasker is a nonconformist, but I get the duo and I like it.
I kind of see it. Well, this is I see it as a thing, but we'll get into that later.
It's perfectly fine. I mean, in some ways, you could look at it as a Witcher as being a nonconformist because in a lot of ways, no one. I mean, well, that's not really not.
Well, we have a lot of options that I think we could really get into.
Absolutely.
Before that, did we want to roll a third time, or are we good with?
We've done that in the past, so we might as well keep that up. It's served us pretty well. So why not go third?
All right, so let's just give me a second to get everything ready. Okay. Oh, geez, that was the wrong button. Ass monkey, come on. There we go. All right. Sorry. Okay, so adding that thing there, that took a second. Okay, and let's roll again. All right. Oh, here we go. 228. We finally got out of that 160.
We're dancing. Oh, yeah. With all kinds of shoes. You said 221, my friend?
228.
28, okay. 228, perfect. It's a scientist. So that's something different in that realm.
Doc Brown, man. Doc Brown.
Perfect. Doc Brown and Marty. Marty would probably be a nomad through time. Okay, so we have.
I'd put him as a nonconformist.
Yeah, I would.
Kind of like, yeah. I mean, Doc is really the nonconformist. If you're breaking the laws of time and space, that's as nonconforming as possible. But
all right. Okay, so let's hold on.
And I'll do a quick recap on everything as well. We'll lock in place. So for tonight, for our genre, we're doing Western. The setting is a spooky location. The time period is the past. Archetype number 1 is a nomad. Archetype number 2 is a nonconformist. And archetype number 3 is a scientist. Right. And that is the setting for our, kind of the table setting for this
right
story.
All right.
So, how would you guys like to begin? I always talk the most, so I'll give you guys room to breathe.
Well, I have some initial ideas.
Preach.
Okay. Well, for the nomad, obviously, I think it sort of has to be a cowboy of some kind. Because I'm not sure what type, if he's an outlaw or if he's just just some dude who's going town to town, ghost hunting or something.
Ghost hunting. I
love it.
Like, I'll take care of your problems if you pay me.
Yes, no, it's perfect. It's perfect. Yes, okay. So what you're saying is basically the nomad is kind of a Western ghost hunting type, or it could be that it's a deliberate thing as opposed to he's just drifting from town to town. He's almost like a Dean in Sam Winchester. He's deliberately goes from town to town because if he might hear about some hoopla about possibility that there be some ghost or unexplained phenomenon locations, he deliberately seeks out these towns. It could veer towards that direction as well.
Yeah, I think that would work. I mean, also maybe it's a superstition that like he can never stay in one place because the ghosts will get him. Sure. Also, just so I can wave my social justice flag, justice for a hard second here. Like most cowboys were not white, so let's make this character a non-white cowboy.
Yeah.
Sure,
Um,
sure. I hadn't even thought about
maybe
her
Latin
race.
American or Native American. That would be awesome.
Sure, sure. And I don't know if this would be too weird, but what I was kind of thinking too was if this was a person, this was set in the West in the past, 1800s or whatnot, or 19th century. It's
Mhm.
almost like the Native Americans or American Indians would be that much more inclined to actually believing in the supernatural as opposed to just random white folks,
Mhm.
and also probably more prepared to deal with it as well. So it
Mhm.
makes the most sense for it to be.
I like that, but I'm also wary of getting into the like the mystical, magical Native American trope,
Hmm.
which
Yeah.
Right.
is racist.
That's what I thought about too. It could be veer into that path.
So
But
I'm not. I like it, but I'm also like, let's be careful.
Yeah.
fair, fair. Yeah. So we can just go with the easiest route for right now. Then just go with a Latin American. I mean, or even just Mexican. If this is set like in the
Mexican,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
Mexico border around Mexico, I think it makes Mexico. All right.
Hmm.
But we'll note in here, this nomad is a Mexican ghost hunter for
yeah. Mhm.
shorthand.
Hmm.
Now, what could be? I'm sorry, Nate. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. You can. I was just going.
All I was gonna say was that if we have it here, think about what we have. We have the setup for a basically a Walter Peck, aka William Atherton, setup with Ghostbusters and a scientist that's trying to prove him wrong. So we could almost have that the nomad and the nonconformist are partners, and the
Mhm.
scientist is basically trying to say everything they're doing is it's just
Oh yeah,
Or
that works.
nonsense.
well, or
Oh,
another option, which popped into my head is we could go the instead of Walter Peck, um, we could have the scientist be like Egon, and
Ooh,
have the nomad sidekick as the scientist, and making him these neat like they both kind of like believe in this, like this spooky stuff, and he's the and he's like the gadget guy. That's just another
yeah.
option.
No, it's a yes, because what you're painting in a way is almost like just a full blown Western Ghostbusters. We have are some of our types of the Ghostbusters themselves right there.
Well, it doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily have to be ghosts. It could be
No,
demons. It could be,
I kind of like.
whatever they're hunting, but yeah,
I mean, like, I like creepy shit. Uh,
yes,
I like demons because ghosts are kind of like. I mean, well,
Mhm.
demons are higher stakes
Yeah.
sure,
with
sure,
more fun tropes attached to them, in my opinion.
yes.
Hmm.
And we're using these terms loosely. We can kind of get into what they actually, the abilities they may have, or what the kind of rules they obey as we get into the
Right.
story. But so I think we have it. Which are, in your opinion, which do you like more? Do you like the idea of the scientist and the nomad, or even is it we could go for the first time ever have all three of these characters actually
Yeah,
work
I
together in
was
the
just
same
about to
team?
say, I really like the idea of all three, and the reason why is because this is my idea for the nonconformists, just to, you can discuss amongst yourselves or say, no, that's dumb. But the idea that immediately came to mind was that it was a woman who doesn't conform to the past expectations of her, which means to be all like a lady, right?
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
She's just like, no, fuck this. I'm gonna hunt demons or ghosts or whatever. And so the nomad picks her up, and they become partners because he doesn't care because he's busy trying to save people.
Uh-huh.
So
Yes,
that would
yes.
be an interesting one.
I like that a lot. I'm going to go ahead and kind of lock that in. Basically, what I'm going to say is so our nonconformist is our Ari type, our scientist is our Nate type, and our nomad is a better version of an Ethan type. But these three are going to be on the same team. Is the
Yeah,
word
yeah,
that
yeah. That's
more or
what I.
less
That's
use.
what.
And one thing, the first idea I had was motivation. Essentially, in these kind of stories, what you'll usually see typically is you'll see the on some level at least one of these characters you'll see what their motivation is for them becoming a quote unquote ghost hunter or someone that wants to fight against this kind of stuff like Mulder and X-Files was over his sister.
Hmm.
um, uh, I'm not saying we need to fridge any loved one here, but I'm just saying establishing some kind of a motivation of some kind for at least one of these characters. The nomad doesn't have to necessarily have one. He could be that he just that's what he does this. The
Mm-hmm.
nonconformist, it could be that she just, if she said does give it F, and she wants to fight any power that she sees unnecessary. But for the scientist, possibly it could be that the scientist what drew him into this was that something inexplainable happened, and he's trying to get to the bottom of it on some level, and no one wants to help him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because he's a scientist, and he's like, no, this has to be explainable in some way.
Yeah, and the people are like, no, it's not. It's because we didn't make God happy or whatever. And he's
Yes,
like, but
exactly. If we go the demon route, that makes sense.
But in fact, no explanation.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's where we can start then. So our cold open of sorts could be something we see our scientist character. We'll just call him for right now. We'll call the scientist character Nady, or Nate Don, whatever. But something we can see something happening. He witnesses something bananas, something crazy. And you want to go with demons or ghosts that are?
Ooh, maybe it's his village or outpost that's um attacked, or there's a
where he's doing his experiments, where he's trying to do research, where he's doing research. Something happens. Okay.
Yeah, or he could be doing research, or he could just be living there doing his job as some kind of, I don't know. What does a Western 1800s scientist do?
Well,
part of what they do is,
well, I was just gonna say he's probably just like, he probably, well, okay, so here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he was a scientist. He had some little out there ideas, because he, is that, and then he goes off, and so he kind of goes off and he does his thing, and he's doing his out there idea tests and everything, and then Ethan made a really loud sound, which means he has an idea. So go, Ethan, now.
I'm sorry, I apologize. You sparked the idea that he's out there doing his thing, more or less. And part of what helps the stories be even better is if the people involved, if the main characters feel a sense of guilt, or if they're responsible. So if the scientist is doing, because oftentimes in the 1800s, is alchemy trying to turn lead into gold was one thing they did a lot. So if we have it that this scientist is trying to do some kind of experiment, or alchemy or what have you, and accidentally either raises the dead or opens a portal or does something that gives way for a demon or what have you to come through, or something makes it possible, or even if it just causes someone that's his partner, his scientific partner that's there, to get cursed with some kind of crazy thing. There's something that makes it that our scientist character is directly involved with this monster or ghost or what have you.
Yeah, and then that could set up a thing later on where they find out that this person was the one who maybe opened it and opened the portal or whatever the hell. Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. All right then. So we can, because we're not getting too mired in the details, we'll have it that the scientist is doing an experiment that causes the birth of a monster or whatnot. Okay. And that's our cold open.
Sounds good to me. Okay, so we have, so the cold open is the scientist, and then I would imagine that, and then maybe, it would be there. It would cut to the nomad and the nonconformist. The nonconformist is getting harassed or whatever, and the nomad doesn't save but helps. Like, I don't want to do like the save thing because that's worn out. But
of course.
But maybe there's a thing where, or hell, maybe the nomad's getting shit, and and the nonconformist is the one who swoops in.
Yes,
and then they're like, hey, let's roll.
I was going to reverse it because, like you said, if we're going with the idea that this person is, Mexican, and if they're walking through a predominantly white area, no offense, but white people have always been kind of jerks. It's likely that even if he just walks into
it. What happened to the Native American?
The nomad just simply walks into a bar wanting to drink, and they're like, "We don't serve your kind," or whatever that stuff. And the nonconformist is there, kind of like ready to back him up. And it could be that the nomad is more or less trying to be as peaceful as possible, is almost ready to walk out, but the nonconformist is like, "Yeah, put up your dukes, let's go down, let's throw down." Smashes a beer bottle over, or smashes a glass over the guy's head. It's a full blown like pell-mell Nicky Tan, Chris Tucker fight in the bar or something like that.
Well, that's a bad idea. I don't think she's not that stupid.
No. But she's definitely more. I feel like she's more of the loose, the wild, the live wire. So at this group, as opposed to the nomad or scientist. So she doesn't have to necessarily start a fight, but
Well, but
she's much more ready to do one.
but the thing that I'm not the reason why I'm pulling back on that a little bit is because that seems to me like it seems to me like we would be building up the setting to be like she, he calms everything down, or things get diffused, and then she lights the fuse again, and then he has to come in and fix it. And I
Yeah,
want to try to avoid that.
yeah. There's, and I don't want to. Let me put this. So okay, so the again with my social justice flag, is there's a lot of female characters that are they're usually put into two like groups where it's like the lady, and then she's so tough and awesome, look how strong she is, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
so tired. I'm tired. I'm so tired. Like there's a time and place for those characters, and that's awesome, but I don't want it to be her initial defining characteristic. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just want her to. I think this scene. Not that we need to flesh it out because that would take too much time, but it would be better if it was a diffusion, like Nate said, instead of an escalation.
So who's diffusing who?
Well, she could. Well, I don't know about her being in the. So, as a nonconformist, she's really, laughing in people's faces about people will do the same thing to her like they did to our main guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about her hanging out in public places unless that she's fully like, fuck you guys, you can't do shit to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, I like the idea of it potentially being where she, being that she's in this area, she's not necessarily a nomad. So this could be an area that she's kind of set up her thing, and they're giving shit to the nomad, and she comes in and she's like, "Come on, guys, but really, like, come on, calm down." And she diffuses it after they're like, obviously, there's going to be some conflict of some kind, and then she comes in and diffuses that, and then they start to talking and all of that. So I think that was kind of the way I was envisioning
oh yeah,
it.
okay, I like that.
Okay, so to sum up, go ahead and I'm trying to wrap my brain around it entirely. So what do you say, Nate? That she's what is she doing exactly? What's happening here? I need
So
some
so
details.
like and like Ari said, we don't like not necessarily saying the details, but Nomad comes into the setting scene, whatever, starts getting crap from the local resident racists. Um, it starts to escalate, might even start turning into an actual fight, and then she steps in and does something, either by like a smooth move, like to take out the biggest aggressor or whatever, but in a very elegant way, and then to the rest of them says, "Give it, you owe me money, get the fuck out of here," like kind of
Oh yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And
Oh, that would be. Oh, I like that where they have debts to her, and that's how she has power over them.
yeah.
Because she was kind of doing the same thing the nomad was doing, except not ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
She was just trying like helping get rid of problem
Mm-hmm.
people. And maybe that's why she's like, hey, I'm a good fit for your thing.
Yeah, because she's just trying to get the hell out of there because it's a hole.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like she's like a debt collector of some kind, or people in the town. It sounds like what you're saying, and so because they owe her, she has the autonomy, the ability to step in, and everyone kind of backs off of her or backs off of uh, anyone that's under her watch, so to speak. Is that what you're
Right.
saying?
Probably not everyone, but
Yeah.
some people.
Yeah, I don't think it has to
Okay.
be like she's like, the unofficial mayor of the town. I think it's just a thing where she's just someone who just happens to have sway over the right people, in this situation, and so she's able to help him, and then she's like, "Whoa, you owe me now, and I kind of want to get the hell out of here." So I
Mhm.
went on your train.
I like
You know,
that. I like that. I definitely like the idea of because I like the idea of the nomad and the conformist, non-conformist teaming up together. I don't necessarily like the idea of having our one minority character be in debt, be an indentured servant to somebody that's off the bat. But I do
No,
like
no,
the
no, no,
idea
no,
of
no, no. I'm
them
not saying the
working together.
nomad is you owe me money. You mean like her saying you owe me now because I saved your ass.
Yeah, we need to get this town.
Well,
But
I think we're having two social justice conflictions here. You know, conflictions.
yeah,
That's a word.
maybe too
Not,
much,
it's
maybe too
not
much. I
like
mean,
an
this is
official
sort of a
thing.
story. We can
Um,
this.
it would be more of like you owe me, like please help me, not you actually owe me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right, right. Okay, all right. So
And
I
also, there are no
think
white men
one.
involved except for the resident racists. I would just like to point that out.
Yep.
Right. Yes, resident racist. Okay. The part of the way I also see the nonconformist, this character being, is almost like a Jack Sparrow type, as far as they are not a loose cannon or a dangerous person, but someone that's just, if everyone else goes right, they're willing to go left. Um,
Well, I think.
so, but
Well, I was just
go
going to
ahead.
say. I think in our area. I don't know if you agree with me. I was looking like, yeah, I like that idea, but I think the danger is going into that like loose cannon, like really loose cannon. I
Yeah,
think if okay, I'm
Well, that's
sorry,
what I'm
go ahead.
saying. Not a loose cannon. Yeah, I'm saying not a loose cannon, but someone that's definitely. I mean, if we have to abide by by the rule. It is a non. It can't be that she can't be like everybody else. She has to typically think outside the box. She has to be different. But there are varying types of nonconformity. You could even say, going back to the Ghostbusters, that Venkman is a nonconformist. If they're if in a group of scientists, he's considered a quote unquote scientist as well. He's by far the most nonconforming scientist.
Oh yeah.
So it could be that she's still within this town. She just stands out or seems different. We can still go with the
yeah,
idea of
she
her.
stands out because she's not like a lady. She doesn't dress like a lady. She doesn't talk like a lady. She's she's not conforming by not, she probably dresses like a guy does because, fuck
Yes.
stuffy dresses.
Yes.
Um,
Right.
and that's part, and she's not afraid to speak her mind,
Yeah.
um, which would be non-conforming to the extreme.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yeah, I like that idea. I like what you guys said before a while back before I veered us off. The idea that she's able to step in and without having to raise her hand, is able to kind of talk her way or talk people out of doing something crazy or rash. It
yeah,
could
she
even
could
be as
be
far
like
as
the smooth talker.
smooth talker, right? She could have like
Right.
she could almost be like, I know what you did last night when you were playing cards, but your wife doesn't know, or I know the kind of anything. She's able to kind of be, because she isn't afraid of the law. She's able to kind of have that kind of loose freedom to
And
do
because
the
she
kind of
doesn't get up to like physical trouble, she's not being like the sheriff can't actually like hurt her or
Uh-huh.
anything
right,
because she's not
right,
technically breaking any rules.
right,
And
exactly.
and I kind of like the idea of like that, you know, that maybe the sheriff, like it just so happens, and part of the reason why she's kind of stuck around in this town is because the sheriff in this town is just kind of like, she's not hurting anybody, you know,
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
like, I'm letting her go, and like the other people in town is like, you need to arrest her, she's not wearing a dress, she's wearing pants, and he's like, what, why do you care, like she's not causing you trouble, what, and I
Yes,
kind of like
and
that idea
that
as having a benevolent sheriff in this town, but
yeah,
sure.
she still wants to get out because it's a hole, you know.
Yes, no,
yes,
no, that works. That works. And I like the idea of even establishing almost like the sheriff and her, even though she's a nonconformist, they still get along well enough. There's
hmm
no like animosity. The sheriff might recognize that she's kind of a she's she is an outlier, but she's not doing any real harm to anybody, so there's no point in really causing too much of a stir.
yeah.
And
He's
I like the
got
idea
other
too,
shit on his hands that's more important than just some random
Yeah.
lady.
right? And she could even be helpful in some level, almost being like a vigilante, not a vigilante, but someone who's outside of the law, who's able to kind of talk down criminals, or she's able to kind of do things or work, not the full blown vigilante, but just doing outside of the typical laws. But I think the idea too, like you said, Ari, as opposed to being stuck in the trope of making the female crazy badass, having that she's more or less she has to be kind of sneaky or tricky with her words, or that kind of, she's crafty in that regard. And you can almost have
Yeah,
that our
I would
nomad is
just, as a character who is using every tool at their disposal as well as they can.
yes, yeah, she's definitely a clever trickster. Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll have it that the nomad comes in there, a situation is brewing, and uh, the nonconformist is able to diffuse it by some clever, wordplay or trickery or that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what she. Okay. And then of course the nomad is curious as to why she would bother to help him, and that's when she's like, well, because you seem like someone that seemed different or whatnot. Kind of leaning towards why would their partnership start to, or I guess maybe it could be something as simple as she sees that this person looks interesting and she's curious about it. And she wants to know why he's there, or like you guys brought up before, she wants to get out of this town, and she might see him as the opportunity to do that.
Mm-hmm.
She may have witnessed him do something before, maybe out like on the outskirts of town, where she was trying to do work, and then like he showed up and was taking care of a problem, and she saw it, but he didn't see her, and so then when he comes into town, that gives her the excuse to come diffuse the situation. Otherwise, she wouldn't have engaged, because why would she do that?
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yes, she would. Yes, that makes perfect sense. That she may have seen his abilities somewhere else, and now she has the chance to capitalize on them.
Yeah.
Not that she's full-blown opportunistic, but it is advantageous in a symbiotic way. I got you. Okay, perfect. And she could say that, I saw you in this town doing A, B, and C. I figured you could help me again. Something else. Okay. This is perfect. Okay. And that's when, of course, it could be, we can get into somewhat of the plot where the nomad tells her that he's in this town because he's heard rumblings of some kind of a bizarre monster or a demon or whatnot, and he's there to investigate it.
Yeah, and I like the idea of it being like a demon-esque thing, like ghosts. I don't know, ghosts are spooky, and I like spooky, but it, like Ari said earlier, it raises the stakes. It makes it more like, like ghost seems like, oh, I'm going to annoy you in the night.
Right. I can't actually touch you, but I can
make
noises around you.
Ghosts are easier dealt with, and like he doesn't need to be there for ghosts to be dealt with, because people have just been doing it on their own.
Yes.
Or it could be like a thing where like ghosts are involved, but they're not like almost like I picture almost a scene where like the maybe the nonconformist, it misunderstands and says, "Oh, you're a ghost hunter," and he's like, ghosts, they're they're pansies. I don't deal with them. They're those are for the cheap people of my trade. I go for the big ones. I go for the demons because ghosts are useless and they're a mere bother.
Right.
Right. I kind of like
that. No, I like the idea of building the lore of the world, essentially, that people do, the casual townfolk do know the rumors of quote unquote ghosts, but only someone like Nomad or other people in his trade would actually know what they're talking about or what they actually are. One big thing we didn't talk about either is that the actual quote unquote monster or demon or whatever it might be that the scientists gave birth to, we never really see it. We don't see it yet. At the beginning, in the cold open, we kind of see what would lead to something being awoken or whatnot. We don't actually see it. We kind of want to save the monster for a little while longer, kind of build up the intrigue about him and build up his
Don't show everything else or too soon.
Right. You don't see Jaws until like halfway through the movie.
Exactly. Well, yeah, it's the classic, Hitchcock thing.
Right, Hitchcock thing too. So we don't. So they don't. So once Nomad and NC and Connor and nonconformist start their investigation of this, as they're talking to townspeople and as they're following these clues, they don't exactly know what they're looking for. But part of what could be fun with this investigation is we could have it kind of in a way. This could be a brand new, whole unique kind of monster or demon that Nomad hasn't faced before. So as he's looking at his footsteps or looking at his footprints that he's left behind or whatnot, we can build up more of the suspense as to what he's looking at. So he has no idea what it really is or things of that nature.
Yeah, and it can almost be like while they're investigating it, that's when the scientist shows up, and he's like,
he has to be there somewhere.
Yeah,
and
he's like, "Hey, what you doing?" And then he goes, "Oh, you're a demon hunter. Oh, you help need I." And he just kind of loses his shit a little bit because he realizes he has run into the exact person he needs to fix his fuck up.
Yes.
Yes, and I like that. But first things first, the scientist or Nady Baby, whatever, has to talk just like you do because he's based directly off of you and your goatee. But the other thing is too is that what if I like the idea of the meeting up while they're doing this investigation, but what if it was something where they, as Nomad and NC were kind of on the trail, what they believe they're on the trail of the monster, and maybe even at night it seems kind of spooky, and they come across they believe that you're ready to shine a light on this big monster, the huge scary monster, and actually it's the scientist. Their quote unquote meet cute is
Oh
they
yeah,
bump
because
into
he's doing his own like investigation.
exactly the
Yeah.
scientist. Nady Baby is also doing a investigation, and that's how they run into each other. They kind of terrify each other accidentally. They scare each other, bump into each other at night.
Only my Aunt Dot is allowed to call me that. Anyway.
Let's call him Baby then. Right, Baby. Right, so, yes, but yeah, I like the idea of him. But I love the idea of the scientist knowing essentially at least about monster hunters or ghost hunters and wants to employ Nomad to help him because the scientist isn't one of those super vengeful, selfish asshole scientists that wants to damn the world. He actually wants to stop what he's created. He is closer to Doc Brown. He's a decent guy. So.
Yeah, I've always liked the benevolent science types, like Egon, like Doc Brown, like those types of characters. I really like.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
The evil scientist is kind of played like you know how I feel about villains, but still, it's kind of played out, and I like the character type of someone who just wants to do good and to help.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I also like the idea of this team working together too. It's the first time we've actually had it where all of our archetypes are on the same. Fun.
Yeah, we haven't even discussed the villain yet.
No, and I guess it almost
spook demon, spooky demon.
It was called a demon.
Oh yeah. I guess that could be the.
Yes,
that definitely is a.
Yes, spooky demon. I guess because it's something like Jaws or even Ghostbusters in some sense, where the three of them are working. Well, even I guess Jaws is one monster, so not close to that. The three of them obviously are trying to figure out to the best of their ability what they're tracking and what they're dealing with. On some level, we're going to have a full-blown Christopher Lloyd level of exposition here, where he more or less tries to explain what this monster actually is to them on some level, because they don't. Nomad and NC don't know what they're dealing with.
Well, I think the Nomad might also know, because if this is his trade,
he might have a clue.
I think we need an exposition dump. I think we need very little information. I mean, he could just be like, "Oh, this is a so and so, and it's this and this," but it takes maybe like 5 lines to say what it is.
Yes, yes. Or we could have articulated it too. We could have it that the scientist doesn't exactly know what he did. He tells the Nomad what he would this kind of experiment he was trying to concoct or what have you.
Oh, okay.
And when the Nomad hears this, like if he hears that I was using sodium chloride and sulfate together, and then boom, I don't know what happened, and then the Nomad goes, "Oh, well, when you did that, you opened a portal to Charlottesville, Virginia, and because of that, it released this kind of thing." So it could be the alone they don't know what they're dealing with, but when you combine their combine their information,
that like the scientist doesn't have all the information to begin with, because it wasn't like he was maybe his partner or something. Are we still keeping that where someone close to him got hurt?
I think either definitely someone either got hurt by this or it got turned into I think based on what we talked about then, it'd probably be that he opened up a portal or something which released this demon, and then the demon killed his partner or lab assistant or what have you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go that route.
That works for me.
I'm good.
And I guess the first thing would be then, of course, on some level, the scientists probably went out either trying to track down this monster or look for help. And now the Nomad, since he's a professional, the first thing he probably would do is want to go to the scene of the crime and investigate it. Then you see.
I'm sorry. I just had a terrible idea, but this would not be revealed until Act 3.
Well, please, like log it. I mean, you can tell us now.
I mean, do you want it? Do you want it now, or do you want it next week?
No, it's your call. It's your call entirely. But just keep a record of it. So,
at least mention a brief thing of it, so that way we can help you remember next week in case we've forgotten.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I'll mention it now just in case we want to go down this route, and if we don't, then it will not be spoken of again. What if, in the course of the portal summoning or the demon summoning or whatever, the demon actually possesses the scientist and is there all along?
Yeah, that's what I figured would be best.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because so
and,
remember when you were
and,
like
he, and
when they find the
he can
scientist
also.
being
Yes, I'm
weird.
sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry.
They find the scientist like out being weird under the, like he's looking for the information to figure out what happened. But actually he's just being weird and demony. And he's possessed. So they have to like, find a way to exercise him or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I love that the pieces. So, are you saying that that big Nitty Bitty, the scientist, is actually possessed, or that the lab assistant gets possessed and they don't know it?
No, the scientist.
Okay. So the main scientist, but the thing is, he's unaware of the fact that he's possessed, or
Yeah,
he is
that would be
aware.
Yeah.
interesting. He's unaware that he's possessed, so he's still trying to do good stuff. It's just that
Yeah.
bad things keep happening, and so he doesn't know.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that idea. I also like, but I do like the idea of having it be I think of sticking with Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters 2, very end. He possesses Ray Stantz for Vigo possesses Ray Stantz for like a hot minute, and then they're able to
Yes.
exercise him with the good slime. And
Thank you.
while the makeup in that scene is horrendous, I did like the idea, and I wish they had kind of used that more for the entire movie. Probably would have been a better story. But
Could have been worse.
I like that idea. I guess I'm, because the scientist does have a name I like. I like the idea of like having it be where he's not the bad guy, like obviously the demon still is, and that they exorcise him and then they still have to destroy the demon after the exorcism.
Yeah. No. He's still a
Yes.
good person. He's a good person. It's just that he's being possessed by a terrible person.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think, and I just toss it out here because I actually like what you guys are saying a lot, and I kind of feel like maybe a way to split the difference in a way. What if that lab assistant or partner person actually gets possessed, and when they go back to the to ground zero, they 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 first are confronted with having to battle an actual monster or whatnot, and they believe it runs off or escapes, and then they find what looks like this severely damaged or wounded lab assistant, and they try to help him up and everything. Believe that they have no idea that they're one and the same, and so they bring him back to town. They're trying to nurse him back to health, and everything like that. And so because the demon is able to basically have two forms. Our three main characters are trying to battle against this. They don't know that this lab assistant character is essentially this Ray Stantz person, that he has the demon inside him. It gives us a chance to have our three main characters battle against somebody together, and also it gives us a chance to have the scientist confront his guilt for what happened to his lab assistant. But I'm just tossing out there. We'll have to go that route.
I don't know.
Sure.
I like the idea. I'm just concerned that it's complicating it with the level of characters. I like the idea, I like the idea of just, like dispatching the lab assistant and making that part of the guilt. That's the easy thing.
Yeah, I think that's probably the most important part because that is his motivation.
All right. Well, we'll go that way. We'll go that way. So what we can also do then, I think what would be fun is, I know we don't want to have any exposition dumps, but when we do, we're going to have our three main characters go back to the ground zero where this happened. And when our scientist character is looking at the body of the lab assistant, of course, he's broken up, but he could almost in a way be having like a flashback or something. You can see him like almost looking at the body, looking at his hands, like something weird is happening here. Like what happened? Like he's almost like kind of the way that the Hulk is when Bruce Banner sees the destruction that Hulk has committed. He has kind of flashbacks, realizing that he was, even though it wasn't in control, he has kind of weird memories of it, because we had to tee up this idea that he is in there. He can't be completely out of left field.
I actually really like the idea of the scientist realizing he's possessed before they do.
Yes,
but right before they do. He's like, shoot me. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
And he's like, do it now. And then they don't, because they're like, you're our friend. Why would we do that? And he's like, you're all gonna, okay, I'm the demon now. Ha ha.
Yes. Yes, yeah, and of course he won't realize it just yet. That'd be too. He wouldn't realize it immediately. It's still kind of scrambling around in his brain, but seeing the crime he's committed, of course, starts to jog his
Ooh,
memory back.
nightmares, nightmares. I
Nightmares.
I think he
Yeah.
should be having nightmares throughout the whole story, and
Yeah,
it's the and what it is it's the demon inside him trying to get control,
yeah.
Well,
and
I would say let's not stop at trying to. I'd say that when he has nightmares in bed, almost like a werewolf transformation, essentially, where he's in
Oh yeah,
bed.
that's where when he goes out and does more creepy demon stuff.
Yes, and so the nightmares may actually be him seeing what he's done on some level. He actually does go out and do
Mhm.
these things. We actually see these things happen, and the nightmares are almost like him remembering it. Okay? I know we're
Mhm.
kind
Yeah,
of getting
he's
into the
just like, oh
weeds
yeah,
here, but
well, this is probably normal because I saw some fucked up stuff, and then maybe later they're like, you keep screaming in your sleep, and then I didn't find you this one time, and he's like, that's not what. But,
right, right, no, exactly.
but that's sort of I like him realizing that he's the demon first, so that kind of ruins that.
Yes,
Mhm.
but and also being afraid of that too, he as it starts to dawn on him, as it starts to become more clear that this is happening.
Mhm.
Because also what we established is that our professional, the nomad, thinks it's one type of demon, and on
Mhm.
some level he's kind of wrong because he should have realized this first, but apparently he actually was off. He didn't,
Mhm.
or may have been, or he may have thought that it was a different type, and then went to somebody else, or something else happened. But
Right.
our nomad specialist, was wrong. Didn't
It could
realize this was
be
happening.
that the demon somehow um r- not recognizes but realizes what it's dealing with and sort of has to take different tactics to appear um
Yes,
so that it's not defeated right away. I don't know what
yes,
Well,
those could be.
yes. I love it.
I was gonna say I also like the idea of the nomad. Like by the time the possessed scientist, starts manifesting symptoms of the possession,
Mm.
he's already kind of befriended the scientist or the nomad. So the nomad is more apt to, that looks like a standard X3 possession, but I think it's
Mm.
just the scientist, and because he's a little silly, and he's willing to
Yes,
overlook those things because he is now friends.
because they're
Um,
friends.
yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely I like the idea too. Both of you were saying that he may be acting a little weird or strange, but this is our nomad and our nonconformist didn't meet the scientist until after he's possessed. They have no benchmark for how he normally acts.
Hmm.
So for them, his weird mannerisms may seem perfectly normal. If he scratched himself, that seems perfectly normal. They don't know what to look for necessarily as far as what he wouldn't normally do.
Hmm.
But the demon could be trying to be, the demon actually is making him act different. He's not the same way he usually is. And it could be a whole thing where we see the scientist inside essentially battling demon or trying to get out, even in the nightmares, him trying to, the struggles there. He's trying to deal with this
Hmm.
presence too. And I like the idea too, of course, if the nomad and the nonconformist do befriend the scientist, they're not going to want to kill it later on.
Hmm.
It's going to be much harder for them. And one last thing about too, when Art was talking about um, as we're doing with this nonconformist, who's very clever. If this nonconform, if the demon is basically trying to play, talk about is playing any kind of mind games or trying to do all kinds of stuff as far as convincing people to trust him and do kinds of things like that. It could be that the nonconformist does catch on because the nonconformist is so clever.
Hmm.
She is kind of used to what it's like to be a huckster or whatnot. So she kind of picks up on little tells, or not tells, but maybe slip ups in what he's saying, things not matching up with things that he's said before, that kind of stuff too. Because
Hmm.
we want to make use of her skill set as best we can as well.
Yeah.
I almost picture it as kind of a like with the scientist. It's almost like Frodo in the Ring. Like
Yes,
it's
exactly. It corrupts slowly. Yeah.
yeah, like the biggest difference there is that Frodo knew what he was dealing with, where
Hmm.
what's his nuts, the scientist isn't quite sure. Like
Right.
he's not
Yeah.
totally.
It
Um,
could be that the demon is having such a hard time possessing this person because he's a scientist.
uh-huh.
So the belief is not really there.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Hmm.
so it's just like it's just that's why the demon is like, let me out,
Yes.
I need a bagel.
Yes. It's almost like someone trying to possess Batman because his brain is so strong already. It's that much
Hmm.
harder of a spell to crack. Yes, I like that idea a lot too. And I mean, there will come a point too where the audience will know probably the scientist and the audience will know before the nomad and the nonconformist will know that the
Yeah.
scientist is possessed. And
Yeah.
from then on, we can actually have it that there's scientist is full blown having almost in a Gollum kind of fashion, having conversations with itself as far as you see the scientist trying to reason with the demon, or if the demon is going to kill somebody and the scientist is able to kind of control the arm at the last minute and move it away from slashing someone's throat, or if the demon is even picking up one of the either the nomad or nonconformist trying to kill them directly, and the scientist is able to kind of fight them enough to stop him from killing them. Like those kind of things will probably happen too, because it is a possession struggle too, kind of like the Exorcist.
I like that idea of there being in Act Two some scenes where the scientist, and I think this of the scientist realizing that he's possessed, and he thinks that he can overcome it by sheer force of his brain,
Ooh,
and
I like that too.
and then
Hubris. Hubris.
and there's like a couple of scenes where that happens, and I personally like the idea um of the of this of the audience still kind of not realizing what's happening there, like
Yeah.
that,
Yes.
like, okay, why is he sweaty, that kind of thing, um and
God,
then
he's so
why is he moist anyway,
Oh, it had
but
to.
and then it goes from that point to then the audience starting to pick up, like, oh, and then the nonconformist and the nomad are clued in, and I can see and then this is again more Act 3 stuff, but I can see a scene where they're kind of pissed at him, like, you kept this from us,
sweaty.
and
Yes.
he was like, I thought
Yes.
I could control it, but now you need to cut my head off, and
Yeah.
Right.
and I think
Right.
that would be interesting.
Because part of it, all I mean, yes, I agree with all that. But part of it is they'll say is this all this started because of your own hubris in the first place. You were messing with things you shouldn't be messing with. Opened up a portal to hell itself and released a demon.
Hmm.
So you have to realize you are you are a flawed person. You can't fix the world with your brain alone. Stop
Yes.
doing it. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, that'd be confrontation with chill. Yeah, absolutely. Which obviously also opens the gates for as far as they'll have to part of the scientist Navy Betty's arc will have to be him some humility that helps them defeat this monster in the end
Hmm.
too. Not sure
Hmm.
what it'll be just yet, but we'll get to that next week.
Hmm.
But yeah, okay. So I think more or less we'll have it that Act One will end with them going back to Ground Zero, seeing the body of the lab assistant, and our scientist character more or less having like flashes of something. But what seems like it's a flash, it will be the flash of a demon attacking or whatnot. We won't really see what it really actually is. But it's in reality, it's a flash of him actually doing this to the lab assistant.
Hmm.
And then Act Two will pretty much start with them, I guess, back in town, resting up, trying to figure out what to do next or how to follow the monster.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds.
Yeah, I think like them regrouping, and then that's when we start, like, we start to get hints that something's not quite right with the scientists, but by then the nonconformist and the nomad, they've been friends with them long enough, and they're like, yeah, that's just him being weird. That isn't, where that isn't a possession, and then because that
Right,
happens daily,
right,
in this world.
exactly.
So yeah.
In
Yeah.
Charlottesville, Virginia. Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll have them
You want to
actually
give
wrap
him
it up.
my address while you're at it there, bud?
Exactly. So take a right turn
Fine.
at
I'll
the
edit it out in
smoke.
post.
But no, I like that. I like that idea of them as they're wrapping, as they're winding down for the day. They all talk about what they've done, who they are, kind of thing. As far as
Hmm.
yeah, the nomad, why he does what he does,
Yeah.
what the science was trying to do with the portal, and why the nonconformist is trying to get out of town.
Hmm.
Yes. Okay. Cool deal. Well, and that seems like a good place to stop for
Yes, I think that's good.
this first part of the
Yeah.
story into Act Two. And and because of Ari's brilliant idea, we definitely have set up for Act Three pretty
Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
Um, brilliant stroke of brilliance. But before I
With some kind of stroke.
Oh my gosh, your left side's numb. Before I take a look at what you illustrated this beautiful time, your beautiful illustration for this time. I'll go ahead and do a quick wrap up of the story. So this week's story is set in a Western at a spooky location in the past. Archetype number 1 is a nomad. Archetype number 2 is a nonconformist, and archetype number 3 is a scientist. Our story opens up with our scientist, which is like an Egon type, doing an experiment, which opens up a portal, which releases a demon through a crazy series of events. It's clear that the lab assistant that's working with the scientist gets slaughtered by this demon. We then cut to the nomad, our nomad character, walking into a bar, asking for a drink, and the racist attendees don't want to serve his kind. The nonconformist is quick with the tongue and is able to diffuse the situation and get some service and some justice for this, our nomad character. The nomad and the nonconformist quickly team up with one another because they have vested interest. The nonconformist wants to get out of town, and the nomad is trying to track down a monster of sorts. And the nonconformist realizes that with the nomad's skills and abilities, he can help her get out of town. So the nomad and the nonconformist start tracking down any rumors or whereabouts or information on this monster. They find some footprints and a trail of blood and some other stuff, which leads them into the spooky woods at night, and they bump into what they believe is a monster, but it turns out is in fact the scientist Nady Beatty, the third. And Nady Beatty realizes that this nomad is in fact a ghost hunter or a demon hunter, and he tells them that they should all work together, join up. He tells them what he was trying to do in his experiment area, and the nomad quickly realizes what type of demon he's dealing with, and all three of them go to ground zero, the actual location of the experiment. The scientist sees his deceased lab assistant for the first time in who knows how long, and he starts having glimpses or flashes of the death of the lab assistant. And it seems a bit unclear as to whether or not the scientist himself was somehow harming the lab assistant or if he was witnessing the monster do it. And we still don't even exactly know how the scientist managed to escape this beast or demon. The lab assistant did not. And then that's the end of Act 1. In Act 2, it opens with, of course, our trio kind of palling around at some random hotel telling their stories.
Okay.
All right.
Alrighty.
All right.
That's it. All right, and now is my favorite part of the show. Yes. All right. Ari, would you like to go ahead and fill people in on what you've drawn?
It's our protagonist, Nomad, whose name we don't have yet, but this is fine.
El Nomad. Let's call him El Nomad.
El Nomad. That's okay.
No, El Nomad.
She's not gonna fly out there. She's just gonna wait until you come back over here, and then she's gonna hit you really, really hard.
Yes. If I'm lucky, she'll wait. But,
I'm gonna wait until you've completely forgotten.
Yes, exactly.
I'm gonna wait until we've both completely forgotten.
Was I supposed to do something? Oh, wait, kill him. Yes. But he looks beautiful. For those of you who can't see this on the live stream, and because the art isn't posted yet, obviously, I would describe him as kind of looking like a cross between the Man with No Name from the Sergio Leone trilogy, played by Clint Eastwood, meets like kind of like Brad Pitt in World War Z, or Troy Baker as a cowboy. I'm not sure what he looks like, but it looks good. It's a good look.
Christian Slater in his prime.
Christian Slater in his prime.
Yeah. I would also say he looks a lot like Arthur from Red Dead Redemption 2.
He does.
A little bit.
My marks what? So I will try and make him look a little less white next time.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought all of our descriptions, none of them were of an actual Mexican or Latin American.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think yeah, I can definitely see a little bit, but yeah, that's just what I see Christian Slater in his
Yeah,
prime,
no,
which
I
is
got.
probably the least Mexican person you could come up with. So I'm
It's
sorry,
fine.
but it is gorgeous though.
Oh, thank you.
No, that's perfectly fine. Diego Luna. There we go. So Diego Luna with the hat on.
Oh
There we
yeah,
go.
okay, yeah, that was what I was
So
like a little bit aiming for a little bit, but
no, it works. It definitely works. Or Enrique Iglesias if he didn't shave for a year and a half. Okay, cool deal. I love it. Beautiful.
Is like
uh,
Enrique Iglesias known for not being able to grow facial hair for long periods of time?
I think one time he had like a little bit of fuzz on his chin, and he was so proud of it. It's like, oh, puberty hit you finally. So yeah, yeah, this would take him a while. This beautiful, beautiful work. I love what we did here together, folks. I love the idea of having all archetypes be on the same side, and again, Ari's idea of having one of the main characters actually is inadvertently the big bad. I love the idea of having a scientist named after Nate Beatty, which is destined to be. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. You guys have anything you want to say? What's up?
not for me.
Nope, I think we're good. Thank you all for joining us today. So yeah, we're going to be wrapping this story up next week, so be sure to check us out then. And for those of you listening on the podcast, be sure to check us out on YouTube, because we've got a lot of stuff up there, and you will see the amazing artwork that Ari is designing, and you'll also see my goofy silliness over in the corner, as well as the many typos that Ethan does, but yet quickly fixes as he sees them happen. Quick-ish. But yeah, I think that wraps it up. So thank you all for joining us today, and y'all have a wonderful day.